Breaking news, Jimmy Butler officially requests a trade away from the Miami Heat this year before the deadline. We're going to cover that here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video here on the Basketball Bulletin. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do because 80% of viewers haven't already, and I'm sure that some of you guys watching fall into that group. Post down below where you guys think Jimmy Butler will land, but this was kind of crazy. Trevor right now is currently live on Lakers Nation for the Laker game. I was there with him, and I was like, yeah, I should probably cover that for Basketball Bulletin because there has been a lot going back a few weeks about Jimmy Butler potentially being traded. You know, Shams reported, I think on like December 11th, that he's hearing that the agent from Jimmy Butler is telling teams that he'd be interested. Then there was a little bit of that. And then, you know, how they were saying Jimmy Butler wants to trade, but it wasn't really out there officially. And then there was Jimmy Butler being upset that the Miami Heat have just kind of left him out there to dry, didn't really say anything about them not potentially trading him. And then Pat Riley says, actually, we're not shopping him. We're not trying to trade him. And Jimmy Butler today had comments where he says basically he's not going to be having that joy for basketball unless he's traded. I don't know if the video will work if I play it here. I'm not sure. I've never done this before. If you guys didn't hear that, I'll just cut it out. But if you did, you know what he said. And he said basically he's not happy playing for the Heat and he can't get his joy back most likely playing for them, and just he's happy, you know, being there off the court, but just the way things are, he's not happy on the court. And I'm sure there are a lot of different reasons as to why that is, and I can't help but wonder if maybe he'd be obviously happier there if they were able to work out an extension and things like that. I think that probably would wind up being the case, but regardless, I think that Jimmy's been very out there. It's kind of hard to say whether or not he's like super interested in being traded all the time because of the fact he's a good troll, right? He's, you know, dyeing his hair different colors. Like he did that thing where the Suns rumor came out. He dyes his hair orange, wears the shoes, things like that. So it's kind of crazy. Let's go ahead and see what Shams had to say to elaborate. Six-time All-Star Jimmy Butler has indicated to the Miami Heat he wants the team to trade him, league sources say. Butler does not plan to furnish the Heat with a list of favorite destinations, though, sources told ESPN. He is open to playing anywhere other than the Miami Heat and feels he can make any team a contender. Wow, he's really opened up the list here. That's kind of crazy. No matter where he has moved, sources say he does plan to take part in all team activities and will plan to do whatever the Heat ask of him during this process. So that's good. He's going to be a team sport. Or a team player, obviously, until he's traded. He plans to do everything that he's asked to do for the Miami Heat until then, and try to make it count as much as possible, which is commendable. I mean, some people feel a certain way about players requesting trades, and I'm sure some Miami Heat fans either like this or don't like it. Let me know if you're a fan where you fall on this. But regardless, I think that's pretty cool. Also, an interesting thing here is that he's not saying trade me to the Suns, because I think he's realistic and knows that's probably not possible because Beal is just not going to get traded to the Heat for multiple reasons. And he's not saying, okay, well, I need to go to the Warriors. I need to go to the Lakers, right? At least publicly anyway. They're saying here that Butler does not plan to give them a list. So he's also saying that maybe if he's traded to any destination, like let's just say, I don't know, Detroit, he feels that he can make them a contender. So really what this says to me is that he wants to get out of Miami by any cost. Like he just doesn't want to be there. Excuse me. He just wants to go anywhere else, which is kind of crazy. And it really speaks to the way that this all just fell apart for him in Miami, which is unfortunate because he gave them a lot of good years, you know, a couple finals runs, deep playoff runs, things like that. But at the end of the day, there was that whole saga in the offseason where, you know, it was talking about getting the extension, but Pat basically says, yeah, you haven't been out there long enough. You know, we need you guys to just get out there and play ball, stuff like that. I think he said, not shut up and dribble, but something pretty close to that, which I thought it was funny because Jimmy actually referenced that comment, not saying, oh, Pat said this, but he kind of just said the same line like a couple days ago. So like it's just been bad for a while, right? There's a lot of different instances you can pick through with all of this. And Jimmy talking about how he's lost his joy. I don't know if there's any way possible to reconcile that if you're the Miami Heat. And I don't know if they even would, you know, be in the best interest of the team to do that because he is older. He does want a bigger contract and he's not available for you for 20, 25 games a year. And there are concerns with that. An issue that led to Butler's decision was an implication from the team officials Thursday that he hadn't played his hardest in the Heat's victory Wednesday over the New Orleans Pelicans, playing his first game in 13 days after being away with an illness. Butler took just 5 shots in 25 games and scored 9 points in that game. I think he means 25 minutes, but I do have Jimmy Butler's stat log here. Yeah, 25 minutes. Took 5 shots. The irony is that they lost today, and he largely like replicated that box score, like largely. 27 minutes, took 6 shots, like largely replicated it. And that was on a back-to-back. So maybe you can say because he's been out with injuries, he's just coming back, getting back into the groove of things. One could look at this and say maybe he's like kind of just shutting down on the team, not caring as much. They are questioning that themselves, apparently. So that is something to consider too for them. But regardless, I think that's really interesting. All of it is just kind of crazy, and I think that with this, like I said, there are so many different layers you can approach this from. Eric Spoelstra did not play Butler in the 4th of either game this week. I didn't even know that. That's kind of crazy. I'm going out there to compete either way. Whether I score 9 points or 29 points, I will compete, Butler said Thursday night. You won't say I'm not out there playing hard. It may look like that because my usage is down and I don't shoot the ball a lot, but you can't say I'm not playing hard. So Butler, it's just another comment that they're putting out there that he's not very happy with. Before issuing the edict, the Heat had preliminary trade talks with several teams regarding Butler, but none had progressed. The Heat have shown no urgency in trade talks either. So the reason they're not really showing urgency, there's 2 reasons. Because one is if they want to keep him, they don't have to trade him. They don't have to do that. There's not a lot of cap space out there. I think it's just the Wizards and the Nets from the top of my head, maybe just the Nets. There's not a lot of cap space out there. While he's saying openly, yeah, I'll go anywhere. I'll make anywhere a contender. I mean, you're not going to turn the Nets or the Wizards into a contender off the market, right? And he's starting to get pretty antsy about staying there, it seems like, because there's just keeps more and more stuff keeps popping up. He really wants to go. And again, I think that the relationship is just bad, and the comments are starting to get to him. Like there was a comment literally on the last game. So I think that's why, like they're saying here. But another reason why they're not so crazy about trading him is because they can keep him this year. And where he wants to go somewhere, they're going to need to do a sign and trade. So either way, they could trade him at that point. They don't have to trade him right now before the deadline. And a tricky thing about why people are not so interested also is just there's a disconnect. Like I said earlier, Jimmy wants a lot of money. Jimmy plays 60 or so games on a year. While playoff Jimmy's a thing, he is 35 or so. He's getting older. And whatever team picks him up, he's going to want a long-term deal. He's going to want a max salary long-term deal. That's really hard. That's really hard to sell yourself on when you have injury concerns, when you're at least in the regular season, you're not playing like a $50+ million player. He gives you 18 points per game. That's not, the math doesn't math with that. And that's just the harsh reality with that. And I don't really know how the playoff production looks 3-4 years from now. I really have questioned several times on this channel whether or not Jimmy winds up just taking one of those big 1 year, 1+1 balloon deals or something like that, like LeBron's been taking for a while. Like, I don't know that he's going to get long-term security in a lot of destinations, because while I think teams can see the value, like I just laid out, there are concerns and questions about Jimmy Butler and the way he'll impact your team for years to come. It's not just right now, it's years to come, because he's going to want to play on that contract and get as much security as possible, and go from there, right? And obviously, again, injury concerns, getting older, it's really hard. It's a really tough sell, in my opinion. The Butler-Heat relationship has been tense since last spring when Riley announced the team would not extend his contract. Butler could have gotten an extension for as much as $113 million over 2 years. Goodness gracious. If you're not on the court playing, you should keep your mouth shut. Yeah, that's the line right there. That's what he said. You should keep your mouth shut. So one of the other little parts of this that's a kind of crazy saga was the whole agent thing. You guys remember that? So Shams reports like all the way back, I think, like I said, on the 11th. And yeah, right here. The Phoenix Suns are another team that's Jimmy Butler's agent has indicated in league circles the 6-time All-Star is open as a destination to be traded to. So he had started talking about this around then, 10th, 11th, in that area. And then Butler's agent basically goes scorched earth on him and calls him a liar. All right, listen, I gave you a pass yesterday because I was busy, but if you don't stop putting my name in your complete and utter made up BS articles, you aren't normally worth my time. And he goes on this is a thread. He goes on a multi-respond. I guess they're not showing the continuations there, but he does say continued. Oh, here they are. I don't know what I got to do as a middle-aged dad, but just know that I won't indicate severe dislike. It would indicate severe dislike. Shams, this is your opportunity to say I let Chat GPT write my tweets. My bad. He went on all that. And the crazy thing is, on Christmas Day, Shams doubles down and says Jimmy Butler wants to be traded. On Christmas Day, he reports that, right? 6-time All-Star Jimmy Butler prefers a trade out of Miami ahead of the deadline. Doubles down. And then after that, the agent says nothing, and now we're getting all this. So Shams was ahead of the curve with this by like damn near a month. So kind of crazy. So like I talked about with Butler, here's how things currently look. He has said that he plans to, I don't want to misquote this. I wish Trevor was here because he could remind me of this. He's got a $52 million option. I'm pretty sure that he's saying that he's going to opt out of this deal. So that way he can be traded and re-up for a new deal. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But regardless, just look at the salary number. Like if he's opting out of a $52 million 1-year deal, maybe he's not taking that balloon payment. This guy is looking for long-term security, which I makes sense. It makes sense. So altogether, I just think that there's just so much here tied up in the Jimmy Butler's situation. But with Jimmy Butler, we're officially now going to get that sweepstakes. Teams have been talking about it for a while already, as reported. Teams know he wants to be traded. But like I said, there are concerns. There are things you need to think about if you're trying to trade for Jimmy Butler. But I do believe, I don't know that he can make any team a contender. I don't know that he's that level of star because, again, while he may be that in the playoffs, right? He's not that in the regular season, which is you got to get through the regular season first. But there are going to be a number of teams I think could be pretty interesting. One that really comes to mind that could really use the production of Jimmy, and I think he would be a great fit on, is one that's already been talked about a lot before, the Warriors. I think the Warriors would be a good fit for him. But post down below if you guys have any other destinations you think that Jimmy should go to. I think there's a lot of stuff here. By the way, I made it through this entire video without breathing because I talk so fast. Somebody always says, Donnie, breathe. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.